Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana. And we're here today with special guest, Mallika Chopra, who's here to share with us her two new children's books, My Body is a Rainbow and Buddha and the Rose. So Mallika Chopra is Chopra's Global Chief Executive Officer, a mom, media entrepreneur, author, and public speaker. She shares her insights she gained while seeking meaning and balance as a mom and entrepreneur who felt she was overwhelmed by work, family, and too many responsibilities. Mallika has taught meditation to thousands of people and is currently a mindfulness consultant for the animated series Stillwater and Apple TV+. She enjoys speaking to audiences around the world about intention, balance, and living a life of purpose. Mallika has a BA from Brown University, an MBA from Kellogg Business School, and an MA in psychology and education with a mind-body-spirit connection from Teachers College, Columbia University. So let's welcome to the show, Mallika Chopra.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
What an honor it is to have you here and to talk about your new children's book. I've got to ask you, what inspired you to write this?
I have now written several children's books. I feel really honored to be in this space where I can share ideas and stories for children. And it really stems from my background. My father is the well-known author Deepak Chopra, which many people know. And my brother and I grew up as the guinea pigs for many of my dad's experiments, as well as storytelling played a really important role in our family's life. And so this book, it's called Buddha and the Rose, is really a story about wonder and the universe and looking at our connection to each other. And so I just am so excited about it because it's a story that I grew up hearing. It's about, connection. And then my publisher brought in this young, amazingly talented Indian artist, Neha Rawat. And boy, has she just made it an absolutely magical book that's beautiful, uplifting, and truly brings out that wow factor that I was looking for.
Well, I'm so glad not only that you wrote the book, My Body is a Rainbow, but also this new book, Buddha and the Rose. So what is the story about?
So yes, this is one of the very traditional stories about Buddha, and it's about a lecture that he gave, which is called the Silent Lecture. And so there was a crowd of people, people used to come from all over India and Southeast Asia at that time to listen to Buddha's talks. And so in this lecture, he just sat with a rose in his hand and actually didn't say anything. And the crowd was so confused about what is he talking about or not talking about. And so I took the perspective of a young Indian girl. And there in the story, the young Indian girl actually historically was the one who gave Buddha the milk to break his fast. So I thought it would be fun to kind of add a young Indian girl or just a feminine voice in the story. So her name is Sujata, and she's known as the milkmaid. So I just have her in the audience as someone who's just watching Buddha sit with the rose. Nobody can understand what he's talking about. And suddenly, and that's where the wonder comes in, as she's sitting there, she suddenly understands what he's saying, that this rose came from a seed, came from the sun, came from the stars, is part of the infinity of time and space. And then she sees how the rose gives honey, how it provides joy and beauty at weddings, how, it's part of a larger story of the universe. And so in this one moment, she understands what he is saying just by holding that rose. The way that the artist has kind of depicted the visuals of this discovery and this connection to the world. I think for children, adults too, but of course for children, it's a children's book, will just get them thinking about their connection to other objects, the stories of every object that's around us. And, this goes to the core of what my father always taught my brother and I, that we are part of a larger continuum, spirit, consciousness. But when we experience that versus just trying to get our heads intellectually around that, when we experience it, it's a moment of expansiveness, of joy, and true wonder. And so that's really the goal of the book, is to kind of take kids through, just a simple story with beautiful visuals to help them feel connected to the universe. And then also what I find really interesting, hopefully as like follow-up exercises with this book that parents or teachers can do, is to really think about any object in the world or anything in the world and think about what brought you personally to this moment of interacting with a person, a place, a thing. And, who are all the people and the circumstances that got you to this particular moment. So while it's a very simple children's book, it really brings in much more insight into our everyday living.
Well, I think that that's so powerful, and what an amazing head start both you and your brother have, when we look at how children in the West grow up, because they feel so, I think they're just such this huge disconnection with everything around them.
Yeah, and I think that's where I feel very grateful. And so in all of my books, especially my books for children, I've tried to share some of the lessons that my father taught us. But then for me as a mom, I now have two adult children, almost adult children myself. And I've taught thousands of children in schools and through programs. And, what I realize is that sometimes it's simple techniques. So I have a book called Just Breathe and a series Just Feel, Just Be You, which are simple breathing techniques, mindfulness, meditation techniques for kids. So sometimes we need to give kids just practice and simple tools to feel connected. So those were the Just Breathe, Just Feel, Just Be You series. But then I got into the space of children's books with My Body as a Rainbow, which is also just basically a guided exercise for parents and children to go through together to feel connected to their body. Because when kids know things like when they're anxious, they have butterflies in their stomach, or, the tingling of their hands or heartache, kids are very aware of their bodies. So in My Body as a Rainbow, I tried to really provide a guided exercise for parents or teachers or librarians to go with their kids. So that's kind of been what I've done before. But with my Buddha and the Rose, it's the first time I'm working with a story, but a story that again brings wonder. And I think that is one thing that my brother and I were very lucky to get from my father, was all of these stories and just looking at the world in a way where we saw the connection to each other, connection to our family, our community, but also connection to the planet. And that's what this one is very much about, what does a rose bring to the world? And then, of course, connection to the universe and spirit. So yes, I do feel very grateful.
Well, and the reason I brought up My Body as a Rainbow, it just has such powerful tools. And then to also then read Buddha and the Rose, I think it brings together a lot of practical just exercises for young people so that children can start like their path on the right track.
Yeah. And, so I was 8 years old when my parents learned how to meditate. And then, of course, my brother and I learned how to meditate at that time as well. And I just realized, like, it's the greatest gift that I got in my life. I'm not a regular meditator. I shared this even in a book that I wrote for adults called Living with Intent, My Somewhat Messy Journey to Purpose, Peace, and Joy. So I'm very honest about kind of my journey, but I do feel that as a child, getting the tools to, and it just begins with literally taking a deep breath in and out, and just that moment helps us connect, and it really helps children. And so yeah, I've tried to find different ways in which to share this content with children, because I think, we're living in a time, as you said at the beginning, where kids all over the world, not just in the West, are just not feeling connected. We have all of the social media and tools, and yet more and more kids are feeling really alone and isolated. And I think the pandemic just made that, highlighted that even more. So, for me, if I can contribute by sharing, these books or different things that help children just take a moment to breathe, or a moment to maybe think that they're part of something larger, hopefully that can be part of their healing process as well.
I was so impressed with the illustrations in the book. I think they're just beautiful and amazing. I think it really hits on many of the points that you make in your story about just how connected we are, because a lot of times people don't think about, okay, well, if I'm having a glass of milk, where did that come from? The people that put it together, and the cow, and so on.
Exactly. And that's what I love. Like, and I've done this with many kids, and it's such a great exercise. Hopefully, this book stimulates that conversation with parents or in the classrooms, which is, yeah, we can look at any object, and you can think of an infinity of people or circumstances that got you to that moment to interact with that. And, from, planting a seed to, whatever it may be, a tree growing or food growing, and then how did that come, say, to your table? You can do it at the dinner table. It's a great exercise actually for families to do. Have a colorful plate of rich, lovely food, and think about where all of that food came from. And you can go as far back, and it just kind of really creates the sense of infinity and connection, both when you think of, everything from what nature did to bring that to this moment, to all the people, from the farmers to the delivery people to the packaging, to, the car that you drove to go to the grocery store, to all the people there. I mean, it's an endless conversation. But, my goal with Buddha and the Rose specifically, is to bring back a sense of wonder, because I do feel we've been living in this time that's been so heavy, and I just wanted to bring more, kind of like almost, and in the book there's the moment when she gasps and realizes, what Buddha is doing just by holding that rose. And that's what I hope we can bring more to children. Children just are born with a sense of wonder. And so, to just remind ourselves as adults also, but also to affirm for children those moments of joy and expression and discovery, I think is just so beautiful.
It seems like this would be a perfect book for parents and even grandparents to read with children. I'm sure everyone can learn something from this book.
I hope so. So it's interesting. I first did a series of books, the Just Be series. So that's Just Breathe, Just Feel, and Just Be You. And those books are written for 8 to 12-year-olds. And, they've done really well. I'm very grateful. I think those address children who are just starting to learn and discover for themselves how to read, and feel this connection to their body and identity. And so I really wrote those books for the kids to read themselves. Of course, they're used by teachers and parents, but I often say to parents, don't force your kids to read that book. In fact, just put it on their bedside table, and maybe they'll discover it themselves, because it's written in a way you can, with any of the books, open up any page, and find an exercise, or think about a feeling, or think about who you are. But with My Body is a Rainbow and Buddha and the Rose, I wrote those with a different intention, which is, one, of course, the art is so beautiful, so any kid can open it up. But the intention is really to guide kids through some sort of exercise or awakening. And that is something that I love on Instagram, even when parents share like just cuddling with their little ones and reading the book together, because it's really a way to bond together, to go through an exercise together with, these beautiful visuals. And so, children's books is just so nice. And I know with My Body is a Rainbow as well, and I hope it happens with Buddha and the Rose. Teachers often read that to the classroom, and since it's an exercise, and they look at different parts of their body and say affirmations. I just love the kind of connection that comes with reading these types of books together.
I was really so impressed with both because, my goodness, I kind of think about how things would have been so different had I learned as a young child how to do meditation. I mean, I didn't learn until my 30s. I could see the benefit, but to teach children to do this, I think it just gives them such a head start in life, and they deserve that from us.
I do. And I think one of the other things I hope through all of my books for children, um, often when parents or teachers think about meditation, it can feel very daunting, and they obviously people say, oh, I'll never get my 5-year-old to sit still. And actually that's what I want to break that misconception, which is we don't even need the 5-year-old to stay still. There are many different ways for children to feel connected. And often for young kids, it begins with just breathing or knowing their bodies. And kids are actually more aware of their bodies often than adults or older kids. And so, yes, I think what I've tried to do is simplify and take away the mystique of when people think of like, oh my God, meditation seems so overwhelming. I, as an adult, can't even meditate. My point is actually, no, it can be really simple. It can be just a deep breath of finding some sort of connection. And often when we give children the tools, they can teach us. So with the Just Be series, when I'm out speaking to kids, I tell them, maybe you need to go tell your parents to just breathe or to get more aware of what their body is telling them and the behaviors they're doing. And so what's been so lovely about these books is it's kind of turned around where often the kids, including my children, are often telling adults, just breathe, just take a moment, stop, connect. And so I think that for me is one of the most fulfilling things about these books.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be just awesome to have your own children go, okay, just breathe, because then you know that you've taught them well,
Yeah, no, it's great. And a lot of people send me stories or photos of their kids encouraging the parents to take a moment.
I can imagine, because a lot of parents have not even learned these life skills. And so here we're a lot of times we're having the young people learn it, and they're teaching the parents.
100%. And I think we're living in a time where we're all feeling overwhelmed. And it's a lot for everyone. And so part of, I think, the content in my books hopefully provides children, but honestly, parents and adults in general, exercises to help them self-regulate, be more aware of their bodies, make more intentional decisions. And you don't have to read like a really complicated book. I mean, that's why the beauty of children's books is the same message is appropriate for any adult to slow down. One of the exercises I share with kids in some of the other books is STOP, which is an acronym for stop, take 3 breaths, observe your body, and proceed. Very simple exercises that are very helpful for adults. And so, sometimes with some of these practices, we don't have to commit to 30 minutes of meditation in the morning and feel guilty if we don't do that. Rather, we can do some simple exercises like a mindful walk, or like in My Body as a Rainbow, just a breathing exercise that connects ourselves to different parts of the body and says affirmations like, I am safe, I am unique, I am connected, I am inspired. So there is so much content out there. And I think for me, my goal with these books is just to keep it simple, but also getting back to the sense of wonder, which is what Buddha and the Rose is doing.
Well, it's such a remarkable story, and I don't believe many Westerners really know about this. And I love how you brought this together. And my feeling is this is really an evergreen topic, that this is a great gift for kids anytime.
Oh, I hope so. And I always want to just to express my appreciation and gratitude for when people share these books with kids. And I love, if you're on social media, always tag me, because it is really nice when a child has a moment of wonder or gasping with like excitement about something, or is kind of settling down in a parent's or grandparent's lap. Or, I get so many photos of kids doing different yoga poses. It's joy. And I think that's something that our world really needs right now. And so hopefully these books can contribute to some of that in families and classrooms.
Is that your wish as an author, is to see this Buddha and the Rose in every school?
Oh, I think as an author, honestly, I've come to the place where if I can affect one child in a healing process, or one person, honestly, even that is significant and meaningful. And so that really is my wish, is like, if honestly for one child this brings some sense of joy or wonder, that would be really fulfilling for me.
Do you find that if a young person learns these gifts of wonder and joy in their life, they bring that back and they hold on to it, and also the life lessons, that it kind of heals the family?
I think it does. I think that's why in my adult book, the subtitle is My Somewhat Messy Journey to Purpose, Peace, and Joy. And, I just turned 51 2 days ago. So I crossed my 50th. And I think one can look at your life in decades at a certain point. And for me, I realized I was given these tools at a very young age. That doesn't mean that life's easy, rather, it means when we face challenges, we have tools to self-regulate, like I said earlier, but also to reflect and be intentional about our choices through difficult times. And so my goal with kids is giving them those tools early on will help them hopefully individually, but there's no question. And we've seen kind of a tide change in some parts of the US and other European countries where kids are learning some of these tools in schools. And so now they are going back home and teaching their parents. And so, and that's where hopefully my books are contributing to that. And that I think is really exciting and empowering for children, and absolutely healing for families.
What do you want people? I mean, we've covered so much, and there's so much great information from, your books. What do you want people to take away, not just from this book, but all the books that you write?
I'll start with this book because my hope is wonder and joy. Like, I really do think that we need to bring those qualities back into our life. And so a lot of my work has been around intention. And so I think the intention, the seed that I want to plant with these books, is just this sense of wonder, and the wonder about our connection, like our connection to everything around us, but our connection to spirit, which can be very healing and empowering. And then, my intention with all of the other books like I said, is just in the same way, actually, connection, because, breathing, moving, meditating, reflecting, setting intentions, all of these are different ways to connect with ourselves. So it may be connecting with our body, with our feelings, connecting with who we are and what we want, how we can serve, connecting with all the things that we are grateful for, but then also connecting with other people, the planet, and ultimately with spirit. And when we have that connection with our spirit, we feel more part of something bigger. And this universal kind of connection. And I think that can be both healing, but it can also be inspiring and coming back to that sense of wonder and joy.
Well, Mallika, I'm so honored that we were able to spend this time together and talk about your books. They're so impactful for children. And I feel just for educators, parents, any adults reading these books, it can really impact their lives in a very positive way as well. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community and learn more about your work?
Yes, thank you for asking. So I'm on all social media. I think I'm most active on Instagram right now. So yes, if they're on social media for sure, and like I said, always tag or copy me. It's at Mallika Chopra. And then, I've recently taken on the CEO role of my father's company, Chopra Global. So they can look at Chopra. And I just want to advocate for there, where we have a Chopra app and education programs. So, for adults and for everyday kind of practice, we have so much rich content featuring my father, myself, and other faculty from our community. So, we have a lot of tools out there, and I really encourage people to just, it's quite simple, just look at Chopra or at Mallika Chopra, and you'll find all of this content there.
Well, I subscribe to Chopra. I think everyone should as well. And of course, to visit your website, Mallika, and look at all the great things you're doing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Yep. Thank you. I'm so grateful. And thank you so much. This was a lovely conversation.
Well, thank you, Mallika. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your new children's books, My Body is a Rainbow and Buddha and the Rose. Both books are available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all indie retailers. And remember, support our indie bookstores. If you don't see it on the shelf, just ask for them to order it for you. Make sure to visit Mallika's website at mallikachopra.com for more information on her books, and make sure to be part of her community. Well, we're going to pause here for a moment, and we'll be right back after this message. I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.